Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Good morning to you, and we're getting ready to start our Torah time. Let's start with a prayer. Today we're going to be in Exodus chapters 22 and 23. O Yehovah, the great and awesome God of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we love you and we thank you for every wonderful blessing that you have given us, the ability to work, the ability to make money, good brains that work so we can learn at school. We thank you for blessing us in every way. We love you and pray that today as we open up your word, you would help us to understand your ways so that we can walk in them and be blessed by you. In the name of our Messiah, Yeshua, amen. All right, here we go. Ready, dudes? Okay. Here is chapter 22. If a man steals an ox or a sheep and kills it, or tries to sell it to someone else, he must pay back 5 cattle for the ox or 4 sheep for the sheep. So if you steal a sheep, how many sheep do you owe if you get caught?
5.
4. That's right. What if you steal an ox? How many oxes do you owe if you get caught?
4.
5.
5.
There's a different number. Why do you think that might be?
Because oxes are better.
Bigger. Yep, more. An ox is a big, strong animal that a farmer can use to do work in his field. A sheep is not. So an ox or a big, strong cow, a male cow, is going to be worth more money. So if you steal somebody's ox, you owe 5 back. But if you steal a sheep, that's only good for food and wool. It can't do work. So you had to owe 4 sheep if you got caught stealing. Now this is one that's interesting. It says, if a thief is caught breaking into someone's house and is struck so that he dies, the defender of the house is not guilty. But if it happens after the sun has come up, the defender of the house will be guilty. Why do you think that is?
Because he'll be able to see him.
Yes, because if someone sneaks into your house at night, what does that mean? It's dark, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you know who they are and what they're up to?
No.
You have no idea. You don't know because you can't see. You don't know that maybe they have a weapon. Maybe they've come to kill you. Maybe you don't know what they're doing. So you are justified to kill a person who breaks into your house at night because you don't know what they're...
What if he doesn't have a weapon?
Turn this way. Well, you can't tell if he doesn't. No, you need to turn this way. You don't know if he has a weapon because it's dark. So if you just see somebody moving around in the dark in your house and you grab your baseball bat and start swinging away and they die because you hit them on the head, it's not your fault because you couldn't tell whether they were there to kill you. You didn't know whether they had a weapon or what they were doing there. All you knew was somebody was in your house in the middle of the night. So you are not guilty if you kill them. But if you can see and the sun has come up and somebody has broken into your house, you'll be able to see what they're doing and what their intentions are. Now, if you see that they're breaking into your house and they have a gun, can you kill them?
Yeah.
Yes, because you don't know if they're going to try and kill you with that gun. But if they just have a screwdriver and they're trying to jimmy your door open with a screwdriver and come in, can you just kill them?
No.
No. You can just you can tell them, get out of here, I caught you, and they'll probably run away. But if they say, I'm coming in anyway, and I'm going to take your stuff, and I'll beat you up and knock you out and then take your stuff, well, then you can kill them. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So these are good rules that you certainly want to know about. A thief must certainly pay back. But if he has nothing to pay back with, he must be sold as a servant to pay for what he has stolen. If a stolen animal is found alive in a thief's possession, whether it's an ox or a donkey or a sheep, he must pay back double what would normally be the payment. So if a man lets his livestock graze in a field that belongs to someone else, he must pay from the best of his own field the person who he let his animals go and feed in their field. If a fire breaks out and spreads into thorn brushes so that it burns all the shocks of grain or the standing grain or even the whole field, the one who started the fire must pay. You see what these rules have in common? Everybody is responsible for what they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
If a man gives his neighbor silver or goods to take care of them and keep them safe for him, and they are stolen from his neighbor's house, the thief, if he is caught, must pay back double. But if the thief is not found, the owner of the house must appear before the judges to determine whether he had anything to do with it. In all cases of illegal possession of somebody else's property, about which somebody says, that's mine, both of the parties are to bring their cases before the judges, and the one whom the judges declare guilty must pay back double to his neighbor. Now, if a man gives a donkey, an ox, or a sheep, or any other animal to his neighbor for safekeeping, and it dies, or is injured, or is taken away while no one is looking, the issue between them will be settled by taking an oath before Yehovah, so that the neighbor did not lay his hands on the other person's property. And the owner is to accept this, and no restitution or no payment is required because he didn't do it on purpose. If somebody stole it from him or it ran away, it's not his fault. But if the animal was stolen from his neighbor, he must make restitution to the owner. If it was torn to pieces by a wild animal, he shall bring the remains of whatever it is as evidence. Like if you took a toy over to your friend's house and you left it there, and you guys left it out in the yard, and a wild animal, a dog or something, came and tore that thing to pieces, he would bring it to you and say, look, man, this wild animal chewed it to pieces. He's not required to pay for it because he didn't have control over the wild animal. Now, if a man borrows an animal from his neighbor and it is injured or dies while the owner is not present, he must pay it back. But if the owner is with the animal, then the borrower will not have to pay. Now, let's say that you went to your neighbor and said, I want to borrow your vacuum cleaner. Can I borrow your vacuum cleaner? And they say, sure. So you take their vacuum cleaner over to your house and you start vacuuming your floors, and it breaks. Do you have to pay it back? Do you have to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
What if your neighbor brings over the vacuum cleaner and he's standing there and he's showing you how it works and he says, here, try it out, and you start to work it and it breaks? Are you responsible?
No.
Nope, because he is there with it. So that's a good thing to know. If a man convinces a young woman who has never had sex before and who is not pledged to another man or promised to be another man's wife, and he sleeps with her, he must pay the price of the bride, and she will be his wife. But if her father absolutely refuses to give her to that man, he must still pay the bride price for a girl who has never had sex before. So he's saying, if you find a girl that you love and you sleep with her, she must become your wife. And you have to pay her father. Even if he says, no way, you will never have my daughter, you still have to pay him. Now, he says, do not allow a sorceress to live. That's someone who practices sorcery or magic. They will be killed. Anyone who has any kind of sexual relations with an animal must die. That is absolutely wrong. Whoever sacrifices to any god other than Yehovah must be destroyed. Do not mistreat an alien or oppress him because you were an alien in Egypt. Do not take advantage of a woman whose husband has died or a child who doesn't have a father and mother. If you do, and they cry out to God, he will certainly hear their cry, and his anger will be aroused, and I will kill you with the sword. and your wives will become widows, and your children will become fatherless. If you lend money to one of my people among you who has a need, do not be like a money lender. You can't charge him interest. If you take your neighbor's well, now let's stop on the interest for a second. You know what interest is?
Curiosity.
No, that's normally what that would mean, yes. But let's say you say to your brother, your brother says, man, I really want to buy this game, but I need $5 and I don't have $5, but you have $5. Can I borrow $5 from you? And you say, sure, I will give you the $5, but how long are you going to have it? When do I get my $5 back? And he says, well, I can pay you your $5 back in 2 weeks. And you say, okay, then to loan you $5 for 2 weeks is going to cost you $1.50. So when you pay me back, you have to pay me $6.50. That is what is called charging interest. You have to pay to borrow the money, and the longer it takes to pay it back, the more money you have to pay for borrowing it. That is called charging interest when you loan something to somebody. That happens all the time. But our God says you must not lend money to your brothers or your people. God's people do not lend money to each other with interest. If your brother wants $5, you give him $5 and you expect that he'll pay you back how much?
$5.
$5. That's right. So he says, if you take your neighbor's cloak as a pledge, because he says, look, I need to borrow $100 from you, and I'll give you my cloak to promise, as a promise that I will pay it back. You can't keep it overnight, because his cloak is the only covering that he has for his body. What else will he sleep in? And when he cries out to me, I will hear it, because I am compassionate. So he says, if you take something from somebody as a pledge that they're going to pay something back, if it's an important thing that they need, you can't keep it overnight. If they need it, they have to be able to use it and then give it back to you as the pledge. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It says, do not blaspheme or talk bad about God or curse one of the rulers of your people. Do not hold back offerings from your granaries or your vats. It says, I give you everything, and you must give 1/10 of it back to me. Don't withhold it, or I'll take it all away from you. You must give me the firstborn of your sons. Do the same with your cattle and your sheep. Let them stay with their mothers for 7 days, but then give them to me on the 8th day. Does that mean that we must sacrifice our children? Remember we talked about that before? What do we substitute?
Lamb.
That's right. Good job. Good job. Mm-hmm. They must be separate and special. They're dedicated to God because he took all the firstborn in Egypt. You are to be my separate and special people. So do not eat the meat of an animal that has been torn to by beasts. If you find an animal that has been attacked by other animals, you can't eat it. You throw it to the dogs. So there's some normal everyday rules for how society is going to work, and how to be just and fair, and how to lend money to people, and how to borrow things from people. Isn't that just practical common sense stuff?
Mm-hmm.
It certainly is. And you definitely need to know about that, right?
Yeah.
How to be fair and honest with your neighbors. This is what the Torah is all about. Or half of what the Torah is all about. The other half is about how do you love your God and worship him. All right. Good job, little dudes. Well, thank you so much for being with us today for Torah time. We'll catch you tomorrow. Have a great day.